Would I be wrong to tell my husband's family the real reason he wants to divorce? Hi guys, I am extremely conflicted over what to do in this situation, and any advice is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much in advance, and I'm sorry for it being such a long post. My husband, 20 million, and I, 20 million female, have been together since March of 2019, so 6 years this coming March. We've been through a lot of hardships together throughout our relationship. At the very beginning of our relationship, I was diagnosed with diabetes, which was a huge lifestyle change for me. My mother became very sick in September 2020, and being that we were still so young and in high school in order to stay together, I moved from Louisiana to Arkansas with him because my mother and I had been evicted from our apartment and she wasn't able to support me any longer. He came from an abusive family situation which didn't improve after I moved in. In February of 2021, my mother passed away. I was incredibly close with her, and I was devastated to lose her. I still don't think I fully recovered from her death. At this time, I was enrolled at online school, so being that I was at home and his mother had to work to support his 2 younger siblings, I took care of them, 2 females, and 1 male, at the time for between 8 to 12 hours a day while trying to finish school and grieve my mother. Eventually, his mom and the 2 babies were kicked out of the house and she became homeless. Me and my husband supported them and collectively spent thousands on hotels, food, and other necessities. The situation persisted for around a year. When she was kicked out of the house, she didn't have a car, so I gave her my car and she used it for over 2 years. This was a very hard time for me, and I believe it changed me as a person and affected our relationship in a huge way. In 2022, after graduating high school, we both moved away and began to build a life. After enrolling in college, he realized in order for him to live in an apartment with me off campus, as I am not enrolled as a student, we would have to be married and present the marriage certificate to his college. All first-year students were required to live on campus if they weren't able to provide an exemption. At the time, it made complete sense to us. We had lived together for almost 2 years already, so the thought of living apart made no sense. We of course planned to marry in the future anyway, so it seemed only logical. After getting out of our prior situation, life was only supposed to get better. We lived in the apartment together for a year before moving into a house that we now rent. Eventually, his brother, 17 million at the time, was able to move away from his mom and come live with us at the new house. Throughout our entire relationship, we have always had volatile arguments. We both witnessed domestic abuse our entire childhoods, and I feel that contributed to the way we would end up fighting. It's incredibly hard to admit, but we both went through emotional and physical abuse from one another. Things would escalate and we would both say and do things that we both admit we are ashamed of. There were several times in which we almost broke up after a fight. Looking back, we should have broken up a long time ago, and I realize that now. I have a wonderful relationship with his grandmother. I love her very much, and she makes it known how much she loves me. From the beginning of our relationship, she has always been there and made me feel so loved and cared for. Though I had a rocky relationship with his mom in the beginning, at this point we have reconciled, and I have a great relationship with her as well. She also tells me she loves and misses me anytime we talk on the phone. All this context to say, after years of disagreements and trying to make things work, my husband had fallen out of love with me. He made it clear to me that he felt we were incompatible and that we were no longer at the same people that had gotten together at 15. He expressed the desire for me to work on myself, improve my emotional control, become more independent, gain hobbies, etc. I felt completely broken, but he promised me would stay friends and still be there for each other.
The breakup was 3 weeks ago. He told me he was staying with one of his friends until I was able to move out. For the first week, not much changed. We were still calling each other pet names, saying I love you, and being physically affectionate with each other. Hugging, small kisses. Throughout his second week, things became a little more distant. We talked less over the phone, and it was incredibly difficult for me to be on my own. However, things were different in person. He still acted like he cared for me and still told me he loved me, hugged me, apologized for how hard everything has been. This Monday, I found out he has been staying with another woman rather than one of his friends. I found out because the messages popped up on our iPad that we share. I know it was an invasion of their privacy, but I couldn't help but read everything before I confronted him. There were messages talking about them having sex, messages about how much they miss each other all the time, pictures of things that I gave him that he gave to her. The most devastating part was them saying I love you. When I confronted him, he explained how terribly he felt about the way he handled the situation and explained his reasons for why he hadn't told me. I swore up and down that he broke up with me as soon as he started having feelings for her and that he hadn't flirted with her prior whatsoever. I begged him for an explanation on how he could fall in love with someone if he had only been talking to her for 2 weeks. We haven't even started to pursue our divorce yet. We've had several long conversations since then, and it hasn't gotten any easier. After everything we went through, my love for him runs very deep, and to hear that he was already in love with somebody else didn't make any sense to me. Now, to finally get to my question, he had me go to Thanksgiving with him, and we didn't tell his family at that point. His birthday is on the 9th, and both sets of his grandparents are going to have lunch with us to celebrate. His mum is coming to stay at the house the 6th through the 10th. How should I handle these next few days? Do I have the right to tell any of them that he has been staying with another woman who he's in love with? I don't want to lie for him, especially if he goes over to hang out with her while his mum is here. He doesn't think it's any of his family's business how their relationship started and says that the only reason I would tell them is to hurt him. He wants us to simply tell them that we had issues that we couldn't resolve. I don't want to hurt him, but I also don't want to have to lie for him. I don't feel as though I owe him that. I just don't want to be the spiteful person he's making me out to be. How do I proceed?